For a very long time, I thought that protecting my peace made me a selfish person. Saying no and choosing to walk away from people made me a bad person. But over time, I did start realizing that being a kind and caring person does not equal you being mistreated or used by people. So what does it mean to actually protect your peace? It does not mean that you are free from ever dealing with difficult conversations or situations. It doesn't mean that you are instantly going to cut everybody off over one simple argument or disagreement if somebody upset you in some way. Protecting your peace simply means that you are choosing to not constantly sacrifice your mental, emotional, and physical well-being to keep everybody around you comfortable and happy. It's recognizing that you do have a limited amount of time, energy, and emotional capacity. And because those things are limited, you have to become more intentional about who and what gets access to that. So why do people tend to feel guilty when you start implementing boundaries or choosing your peace? You don't feel guilty because you are doing something wrong, but because you are doing something different. Especially if you've spent years being the person that always says yes, protecting the peace, the one that has to sacrifice the entire time, the one who apologizes first. The moment you are going to stop doing that, obviously people are going to notice. Some people will respect that and others won't. That is simply because your new boundaries no longer benefit them. I quickly want to touch on people pleasing a bit. I will do a separate video on this because there's so much to unpack. But here is something to think about. People pleasers often confuse being needed with being valued. They confuse keeping everybody around them happy equals that they are being a good person. But the thing is, when you are constantly sacrificing everything to keep everybody around you happy and comfortable, there is somebody that's going to be unhappy and uncomfortable. And if that person is usually you, I will say that you are leaning more towards being a people pleaser. For example, if every boundary that you set makes you feel guilty, if saying no or even thinking about saying no to someone's request makes you feel very panicked, and even the thought of somebody being upset with you is very unbearable, I would say that starting to protect your peace is one of the first steps to overcome that. So let me give you 5 steps that you can implement to start protecting your peace. Number 1, you have to accept that not everyone will understand your boundaries. Of course, we all want people to understand, but somebody understanding isn't required for you to respect a boundary. They don't have to agree with your decision. They just simply have to respect that. If somebody constantly argues with every single boundary you set, they are showing you that they prefer the you without them. And that is something worth paying very close attention to. Step 2, stop explaining yourself to everyone. One of the biggest mistakes people make is over-explaining themselves. I'm sorry, but I just thought maybe. A complete sentence is just saying no or I am not available. You don't owe people an explanation. And trust me, the more confident you become with the decisions that you are making and why you are saying that, the less you will feel the need to convince other people why you chose to do that or decided on that. Step 3, pay attention to how people make you feel. And it's not judging someone based on them having a bad day, but looking at consistent patterns. After spending a certain amount of time with someone, do you feel lighter or heavier? Do you feel encouraged or do you feel criticized? Do you feel accepted by someone, or that you constantly have to walk on eggshells around them? Your body notices what's unhealthy. So the way you feel afterwards has a very, very big impact and is very telling on what type of impact that person or place has on you. Step 4, you have to learn to be okay with disappointing people, because disappointment is not the same as causing harm to someone. Somebody can just simply be disappointed in you for saying no to them. disappointed that you moved on, didn't answer their phone calls immediately to what they are used to. And once again, disappointment does not equal that you did something wrong. Sometimes your healthy choices are going to disappoint people who still have unhealthy expectations. And that is okay. That is not your responsibility. Step number 5, fill your life with things that create peace. Protecting your peace doesn't always just mean getting rid of all the negative things, but it's also starting to implement and adding positive things to your life. So exercising, reading your Bible, building that connection and relationship with Jesus, spending time with people who pour into you and support you, getting enough sleep, going for walks, having hobbies, listening to music. The more that your life is filled with things that constantly restore you, the easier it becomes to recognize what is draining you or putting you in a bad mood. Remember that you are allowed to outgrow people. You are allowed to change. Like, I encourage change, because how scary is it not remaining the same person for the rest of your life? You owe it to yourself to become a healthier version. You are allowed to choose to be in environments and around people who make you feel respected. And choosing these things doesn't make you selfish or arrogant. It just makes you a much more intentional person. Something you have to remember is that when you ultimately decide to choose peace, it does not mean that you will never ever experience any type of conflict again. But you can choose how much conflict or what you are going to pour your energy into. There's the difference. Some battles are definitely worth fighting. Some of them are simply just distractions and things that are so unnecessary. So you get the choice. So respect yourself enough, and also choose the people who respect your boundaries, who will celebrate your growth going in a healthy and positive direction instead of resenting you for it. Be in places and choose people who don't make you shrink yourself in order for them to feel comfortable. And trust me, you will see your life heading in a much better direction.